I'm the general manager of Antigonish Transit. I've been in the position probably a year and a half now. And prior to that, I moved here. I was in charge of the RCMP detachment here, and moving around all kinds of locations around Atlantic Canada and Manitoba. This is now our home, so it's another speaks well about Antigonish.
How did you get involved with Antigonish Transit?
Councillor Jack McPherson with the town approached me to become on as a board member, which I was, and then when the manager at the time left for another opportunity in Halifax, then I agreed to step in as a temporary measure, and here I am still. So September 15th will mark 3 years of being in existence, and the first year is a bit rough, like anything new. Our ridership has increased. In 2015 we had 5,349 passengers for that year. 2016 we had 12,686. So
that's
it's big difference, and we'll exceed that by a lot this year.
Why is public transit so important and useful in a community like ours?
Well, I'd like to see it. It gets people moving. So when you look at things like health appointments, I think it's actually social health things, getting people out and getting to activities. It has an impact on the environment, because instead of using a number of vehicles, you can use one. So transportation, I didn't really realize the gap that it was, or the pressure that it was. So by using public transit, like I say, I think it's smart. I think when you look at the cost of running a vehicle with insurance and tires and fuel and repairs and everything, when you actually look at being able to use public transit, you can use that at a fraction of the cost. We have a number of people in town here that put their vehicles up for the winter, and we'll use the bus service. Just so it's good risk management by people not to be driving on slippery roads and with salt and everything else. So it's I think it's in a lot of places it's a way of life in other countries. So Canada's starting to get with the picture to look at that, and the people are using it now are really encouraged by it.
Well, it started through the Antigonish Poverty Reduction Coalition Group, and back in I joined that in 2009, I believe, and we did some surveys and interviews and focus groups to determine what were the greatest needs to try to reduce poverty in Antigonish town and county. A lot of people don't believe there is poverty to any extent, but there is. So we did this focus groups on direct interviews, and we concluded that some of the main issues were transportation, housing, food security. Those were the three main items, and we broke off into committees, and I was on the committee for transportation. From that, we formed a community transportation committee. The first committee meeting was hosted by ARDA, Antigonish Rural Development Association. I believe that happened in 2011, and then we went from there to look at what was done with regard to trying to establish a community transit in prior years, and there was quite a few surveys done, but they never went beyond the survey. So what we did, we got a small grant, I think it was $2,000, and we had an individual combine the findings of all these surveys. Rather than doing another survey, we wanted to see what the conclusions were from all these surveys. And chronologically, I think it was in October, from October to March of 2013, we had quite a few meetings. Our first chair was Mike McDonald, who did an awful lot of work on that. He went to meetings of Strait Area Transit and had some findings there, and then it was following the election of 2012, I believe. Yeah. We were both defeated, and Mike felt he wanted to go on with other things, so the group asked me to be chair, and I became the chairperson in November of 2013. Following the feasibility study, the next step was to have a business plan done. Quite costly, but again, the problem was very good. They supported that. From discussions with the province, I always feel that if you're asking someone for help, then you should pay attention to their conditions of that help or financial support. So we structured our business plan to be consistent with the objectives of the province. They gave us a lot of insight because they had about 14 communities across the province that had local transits operating. So we got the business plan done. We got some financing from the county, the town, the province, and I believe we also had some donations. And from there we constructed a pilot, 7-month pilot, from September 2014 to March of 2015. And that pilot went quite well. We had one brand new bus and a second-hand bus, and we ran that. We ran a regular daily line in the town, and we offered rural service. We picked areas where they'd have service on Monday, and some other area would have service on Tuesday, and so on.
Well, certainly public transit has been very much needed in this area, and I think that it's going to be even more important and valuable as the population continues to age, and we want people to be able to stay in their homes. Mm-hmm. So what we certainly were seeing was that people couldn't make it to medical appointments, people couldn't make it, trying to get to classes or to school or many other things that they needed to do in their lives. They just didn't have that kind of easy access. And if they were living in the rural areas, taking a taxi was prohibitively expensive. Mm-hmm. So people were making decisions like, well, if I go to town to try and get my prescription filled, it's going to cost me this much, so maybe I can only take half the amount of my prescription in order to be able to, or I won't take it, or because I can't get there in time, or I missed this appointment because even though I had organized a ride to try to get there, I can't get there. And certainly that still has not been resolved in the larger rural area, but it is being significantly addressed by the Antigonish Community Transit. And in the town itself, it means all kinds of things. It means that young people can access the library, or they can stay after school and still find a way to get home if they need to get home and they can't walk or they don't have their bikes, etc. So it's really been a benefit